noticed a pattern as we've been going along. We started off with some really biologically based motivations like hunger and sexual motivation. And then we moved to more psychologically based things like fitting in and how you have control over others. And this mimics one theory of motivation by Abraham Maslow known as self-actualization. According to Abraham Maslow, all motivations can be seen in this larger puzzle piece as a pyramid or a triangle. And at the base of the pyramid, we really need to address our basic biological needs. Our needs for food and water and safety and shelter. And it's the idea that we need to take care of our physiological well-being first. After we've been fed and after we've had water and sleep, then we can start to worry about this middle tier in what he calls belonging and self-esteem. And this is really our social relationships with other people. If we have intimate relationships, if we have power over others, how we feel about ourselves. So our sense of competency or autonomy or relatedness could really fit into our self-esteem. And then once those two things are accomplished for, we can move on to what he believed was our peak experiences, the main purpose in our well-being and our motivation, and that was our motivation for self-actualization. So Maslow believed that self-actualization was these moments of transcendence. What happens here is these are the peak moments in our life where we feel like we understand everything and everything makes sense and everything is perfect. You may experience a moment of transcendence or a moment of self-actualization when you're with nature. If you just climbed a mountaintop and you can see all around, or when you're gazing at the stars at night, or when you're looking out over the ocean, or when you're walking through a really quiet forest. You might have a peak moment when something major happens in your life, on your wedding day, on the birth of a child, when you graduate. These moments are the moments where you say, aha. Everything seems right. I feel like I'm on the right path. It's all making sense. These could, of course, happen in much more mundane situations. You could have a moment of self-transcendence when you're home sweeping the floors, or when you're sipping soup, or when you're just hugging someone. But these are moments where you feel greatly at peace, and you feel like everything is going to be all right, and you feel calm. And so these are moments that are fleeting. Maslow believed that sometimes only 2% of us could really experience them on a frequent basis, but many more of us could have a few of these moments throughout our life. Many religious doctrines talk about these moments of peak experiences as a connection with the divine and a connection with the larger universe. And so importantly, Maslow believed that in order to get to this, we really had to have the lower tiers of our pyramid settled in. But you never really have hunger completely settled in. It's something you constantly have to maintain throughout your life. But he believed that if somebody was really not knowing where their next meal would come from, or was really not knowing if they would have shelter over their head that night, that it would be much harder for them to focus on transcendence and becoming self-actualized. Of course, this theory has been criticized for a number of reasons. For instance, there is the possibility of people who are homeless experiencing transcendence. It can happen. We also know there's people who choose to give up their material possessions or choose to give up their social system to seek out transcendence. People who go off and live on their own and have no material possessions just so they can find transcendence. And finally, it needs to be acknowledged that Maslow actually took this theory from Siksika First Nations in Alberta. According to the work by Cindy Blackstock, it's actually found that they believed in a pyramid of needs, only the individual self-actualization was on the bottom, community self-actualization was in the middle, and community progress and moving forward was at the top. They did not believe that your own transcendence was the goal in life, but that your own transcendence allowed for the community to have harmony and allowed for the community to move forward. So this theory has been criticized for a number of different ways, but it also helps us to wrap up a lot of our motivations into one neat theory and one neat pyramid. It's the idea that if you are completely preoccupied with trying to fit in with people, let's say a teenager in high school trying to find friends and preoccupied with their own social anxiety and attempting to fit in, well, that's going to be a lot harder to have those moments of self-actualization. And so it's a really neat idea to help us understand this focus, but it's not without its criticism.